So taking advantage of those short par fours or those par fives, we've got to get really nice and tight with our wedge play. The best players in the world share some really similar characteristics. They all launch the ball a little bit lower. They flight the shots in there a little bit lower. When we look at their data on Trackman, they normally launch at about 30 degrees. They're also able to spin that golf ball as well. Now, the spin has a lot to do with the friction. So we've got to have a premium ball. Okay, we've got to have clean grooves. Anything that comes in contact in between the ball and the club, moisture, grass, dirt, that's all going to have a huge effect on our spin rate. So equipment, clean clubs comes first. That's massive, okay? And then what they do is they get that low launch, which means their dynamic loft, they're actually leaning the shaft forward between 10 and 15 degrees, which is going to de-loft the club. That's going to help get that low launch angle. But they're also coming in quite shallow as well. You know, they're not kind of coming in very steep, taking really big divots. They're coming in nice and shallow. And that helps strike it also a little bit on the bottom of the club face. And when we strike it near the bottom, that's another factor that's going to increase our spin. So oftentimes I'll work with players on Trackman to see, are we launching it within that 30-degree kind of safety zone? When we're inside between, let's say, 40 and 100 yards, what is the spin rate like? And if they're good, great. If not, we can adjust things in our setup and in our swing to help that. So one of the things in our swing before we set up, or when we set up to the ball, is making sure our stance isn't too wide. Generally about shoulder width is going to be a good width of stance. And the reason for that, it's going to help you stay centered. We don't want a lot of move off the ball or a lot of lateral motion. So fairly narrow stance, the ball pretty much in the middle. Now when it comes to the golf swing, what you're going to do is you're going to have just a half backswing. And what's really important here is as we make your downswing, you're going to have a bit of a lateral motion towards the target. Okay, that lateral motion is going to help that club bottom out later in the swing. So you're going to be able to have that attack angle slightly down. And it's also going to encourage a little bit more of that shaft lean, which we need to lower the launch angle of the ball flight. So when we're coming down into impact, we've got our weight on our left. Through impact now, we've got to add some things in there to shallow things out a little bit. So our lead hip is going to begin to rotate and extend. And the left shoulder, or our lead shoulder, is going to also come up and extend. So what you'll notice by the time I get halfway through into my follow through here, full extension of the body. Okay, if we hang back, our weight stays on the right, I don't rotate through the ball, we're going to start to add too much loft, and we're also going to have the low point too far behind the ball. That's going to cause strike issues. So narrow stance, ball in the middle, we're going to stay fairly centered, we're going to have that nice shift to the left, and then that short follow through with full extension. If we can do that, it's going to really help us produce those numbers on Trackman. So we've got the Trackman set up, got some numbers here. I'm going to have a little rehearsal, about a 60-yard shot here. I'm going to have a little rehearsal. So really feeling that extension through the shot. Okay, attacking them nice and shallow, feeling a little bit of that forward shaft lean to get that lower, slightly lower launch. Okay, what we'll do is we'll come over here. So, launch angle 29.8, so just under 30, which is great. And the spin rate was 7,500. So that's going to be enough. Once that ball lands on the green, it's going to maybe check up and it's not going to run out. The flight was lower, so the elements aren't going to affect it too much. Now, something I can do now is practice that different length of swings, different kind of tempos, and I'll practice my distance control. And all the time I'll be checking, you know, the launch angle, the spin rate, attack angle, these things, and I know I'm dialing in a nice low flighted wedge shot. It's going to help my proximity. So try those keys, those setup keys, and that little lateral motion and extension through the ball. You get that nice shallow attack angle while you're de-lofting the club face as well. You're going to hit it nice and close, have a lot of control with those wedges.